So this is the corner that I have to do. The crown molding, which is this part right here, curved part, I've scraped down a little bit. The fascia board there is part of the crown molding, and also the soffit, which is the underside here. This piece all have to be replaced on the end here. Now, I have a line drawn which is square from the house here, 90-degree angle coming across. I have to cut back until I'm able to attach this to something. So I imagine inside of this, when we open this up, we're gonna see a lot of starling nests in here. But I have to cut back at least the part here that's all rotted out. This has to be cut back. So I'm going to there, and I'll be able to look over inside to see where there is something for me to be able to screw up into. I thought that when I was scraping this that I'd be able to see nails going up into this. I do not. So I'm guessing that it's nailed onto the back side here with a nailer strip, and then it's nailed on the front of the fascia here, because I do see the nails going into that. Okay. I also see a nail there, so it leads me to believe that there's probably something right along here that I could nail into. So I may have to go back as far as that eventually, but right now I'm just gonna go into that and see what the inside looks like inside here, because I know that I at least have to cut back that far. The material that we're looking at here is pine. This is pine from the 1870s. We talked about in class how wood from 1800s, 1700s, 1600s is not the same as the wood we have today. All these windows in here, all this wood that's on here is all 1870-ish. And it's all in great shape, great sound shape here. And the reason for that is because of the time when it was harvested. I'm gonna replace it with, ideally I would replace it with a Spanish cedar, which is still very rot resistant nowadays. But I'm gonna replace it with, that is Spanish cedar, that block that I put in there. But I don't have that kind of lumber right there to do all the corners of Spanish cedar. So I have right there a plank of pine. So in order to prolong its life, every piece that I put up here, I am going to wrap in a primer first. So I'm going to prime all edges and faces and end grain, and then I'm going to paint the exteriors of it. The most important thing with wood to be able to keep it in good condition is that you're allowed to dry. So when I put it in here, I don't want it in full contact with another board. That's going to be a spot where moisture is just going to hang out. You want it to dry out. And eventually this thing's going to have a gutter put back onto it, which is an issue that I have to get to eventually. But for right now, I just want to get these corners done so I stop hearing these starlings outside and walking around in the soffits of the shop here. So this is a project that I have to do. So I'm going to cut it back. I will have to cut this part back too, and I will have to cut this part back too eventually. But for right now, I'm just going to do this soffit part and take a look at it and see what it looks like. So I'm going to use the same tool that we used in the past to cut out the window, that vibratory tool, which is laying down there at the bottom of my ladder. I'm going to cut that out to this line here. And then the other thing that I'm going to talk to you guys about is a scarf joint, where we don't butt two pieces of wood, but end to end on this. You always put it at a 45-degree angle on the ends of those, which presents a problem here because we're cutting into a board that's on here. So I can't take it to the table saw and cut a 45-degree angle. I can't take it to my chop saw, my miter saw, and cut the 45-degree angle on it. I'm gonna have to do it in place. So that would mean that when I find where I wanna stop, and it's gonna be on the center of some board that I'm able to attach both sides to, when I decide where I wanna stop on this, I am then going to have to take that vibratory tool and I'm going to cut back at what is a little bit greater than, or a little bit more acute than a 45-degree angle, so that when I put the next board into it, it closes tight. So the only thing that I'll really have to take good notice to is keeping my cut square so that the scarf joint matches up well. You can see other scarf joints where they have worked on this before. I'm going to climb down and I'll show you one. This house originally was just a stone house that had this wooden part added onto it, and I'm not a great historian. I do get into it to some degree, but you can see up the top there, and I'll go with my back to the sun, maybe make it easier. You see the stone wall, the seam there where it goes up. Do you see that 45-degree angle right there where I've put that piece of expanded steel over top of because the birds were going in there? Well, that used to be the corner of the house, I imagine, and then it returned back the other direction. So that's an attempt at a scarf. You can see where the vertical piece is there, how it's angled 45-45. It's separated right now. It's separated because the wood and the stone have moved a little bit from one another, and that's what it looks like right now. And that's not a huge issue to me. I do, and you can also see up there in the crown molding where just left of the expanded steel, where that gutter hanger is, you see that scarf joint there too. There's another one over here. And those scarf joints are all when you butt things together, you never do it a straight line. You can hide it more readily if you have it at an angle like that. So again, we're using pine. Pine is a reasonable wood to have on the exterior, but I am going to prime it all the way around to try to help it to stay dry and to stay free of rot. So this material right now is about 1 inch thick, and everything that I've run across here, all the pieces that we've been using here, are 15/16. You can see this is the return piece. So up at the top there where it returns back to the wall, same thing happens here. So you have to have it be that it is coped into the wall. So you see my shape here goes into the side like that, so it makes it look like it's actually part of it. So that's a coping cut. A lot of times it's back cut. Like if you look at the edge of this, you can see that I've chunked out the back there a little bit. That's just to make sure that the front edge is what's touching when it goes, and it's not the back edge pushing it away from the material or from the wall. Okay. So when I get this thing opened up, I just stepped on one of my wife's hostas. I'm not gonna let her see that because she will freak out on me. Anyhow, you've got to be conscious of if you're working at someone's house, what they have around, and try not to break them like I just did. Next time that I get you back on here, we'll have that soffit opened up. We'll be looking at what's inside of it.